All right, good evening and welcome to the Mercedes City Commission special meeting of August 29, 2024. It is 6 p.m. I now call this meeting to order. Item number 2, I will establish a quorum. To my left, I have Dr. and Mayor Pro Tem Saldana. To my right, I have Commissioner Garcia. On my far right, I have Dr. Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Martinez is not with us at this time, and myself, Mayor Montoya. We have a quorum. Moving on to our invocation, if you wouldn't mind, Dr. Howell, with the invocation.
Bow our heads. As we come together for this city meeting, may we ask you, Lord, for your wisdom and guidance to help us to make decisions that reflect in your values. In Proverbs 3:5-6, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And with this I say, amen.
Dr. Saldana, if you wouldn't mind leading us, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, gentlemen. And just a matter of protocol, there's nobody signed up, right? Moving on to ordinances and resolutions, I have item 5A, approval of the first reading and second reading as per section 2.13 of the city charter to adopt ordinance 2024-10 regarding utility rates as per city obligation.
Following up with the requisite notices and public hearings.
Can you go ahead and, what, could you not hear it, partner? Okay, go ahead and read again, Marty, I'm sorry.
Fine. Pursuant to 2.13 of our charter, the reason we're proceeding with both the first and second readings today is because it's an emergency situation to properly comply with financial obligations that the city has. So we will be doing all the requisite notices and the public hearing to ratify this item.
If I may, typically we get a little more time as far as when they're gonna go out in the market to ask for the covering of the obligations that we're asking for. And this time when we met last week, they basically told us that we're ready to go the following week, which is next week.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
Are the financial advisors available or are they,
He's available on via,
may I ask a question of them? I'm
Yes, sir.
Just a little curious on this rate. Who's available if I may? Okay. So my question to them was, I know that they're proposing an $8 increase. My understanding, is that correct? $8?
$8.50. I believe.
$8.50. So I was just curious, the two questions that I have, first and foremost, is the increase necessary? And second of all, how does $8.50 increase benefit our taxpayers here in the city of Mercedes? I was just kind of curious on those two questions from the onset. I don't know if that would be more with Albert or would that be
So
with
that would be more on me. So you have the list there. So what we're targeting and we're going out to borrow money for, as previously discussed, the list includes almost $2 million for a water well. And I'll let the mayor expand on that later on, but I'm just gonna touch on the items. We're also looking for additional property for a second water plant, which is almost $1 million. We're also looking for water rights, which is a little over $3 million. And then we also have in there the 10th Street to finish it, and a brush truck that goes for the fire department. The fire department brush truck is almost $200,000. The 10th Street project that we're asking funding for this on this part is $700,000. So you come pretty close to the $7 million that we're looking for.
And
That's what we're
of course,
targeting.
that's of course with both the property tax increase and the water
Yes, sir.
increase.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if we have to entertain a motion and, because I've got something for discussion.
Sure, I'll,
This doesn't call for a hearing, does it? It doesn't say it here. That comes later, right? Okay. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Doc. Go ahead.
that's okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for the approval of the first and second readings as per section 213 of the city charter to adopt ordinance 2024-10 regarding utility rates as per city obligations so that we can properly discuss this.
And forego the reading, I believe.
Forego the reading, yes, sir.
I have a second by Commissioner Garcia, discussion. Doc, obviously, you get first shot at it. I'd like to speak right after you do.
Well, then my first shot at it will be to defer to you to kind of introduce the reasons for this and let you kind of get us started, and then if we have questions, we can always jump in. How about that?
How about that? Oh, wow. All right, no. You know what? I'm good with it. I think at the end of the day that here's the issue. And I'm glad that Commissioner Martinez brought up what he did. So let me have these papers, por favor. So I think it's important that the citizens know why we're doing what we're doing. Honestly, to be honest with you, most of the people that I spoke to that know about this going on haven't really had a big problem with it. You know, what they keep saying is, hey, you know, as long as we see something. So I think the best thing we could do is to make sure that the public knows where their investment is going. So just to give the public an idea of what's been going on recently, as of late, we're in the middle right now of developing 304 acres of housing in different parts of the city. And that's 600 homes, new homes coming into the city. So just to give a little perspective on that, because some of the things that people are saying, hey, well, we're seeing all this growth and housing, and you know, why doesn't that affect the taxes? Well, the way taxes work is we're not going to see any of the benefits of these houses until they've been in the ground from January 1st of whatever year it is until the next year. So in the meanwhile, we're having to fix roads. We're having to fix the infrastructure that goes to these homes. And that was a perfect segue to, oh, and by the way, those 600 homes and 304 acres are just single-family homes. That's not including the 500 plus multifamily homes or apartment complexes, duplexes, and stuff like that are also going up in the city of Mercedes. So it's real important that we as a commission are familiar with these numbers so that we can in turn spread it to the community, and for our community to know that the actions that we're taking are serious actions, and we know they're serious. We know that it affects every single one of us, including us up here. So when we do this, we didn't take it lightly. We see a future and we see an end in sight. Now, another little perspective that we want to make sure that the people are aware of is we have an infrastructure that's been neglected for many, many years. That doesn't cast any doubt on anybody else. I'm not here. It has nothing to do with politics, prior or future. What it has to do with is finances. So largely because of the citizens' investment, this is some of the stuff that we've had to deal with. So I'm going to give you all some numbers here to the community, just to give you an idea of what we've been going through. In 2022, in June, July, and August, 3 months in 2022, we had 44 water breaks, major line water breaks, 44 of them. That's 44 times that our people have to go out and fix them, that we didn't have budgeted. We do have a budget, but when you're talking about big numbers, you have to pull resources and funding from somewhere, okay? So every time that somebody's fixing a broken line, they're not working on something else they should be working. So let me show you, move forward. 44 in 2022. In 2023, we had 78, double, almost double. 2024, same months, June, July, and August, we're at 103. Now,
It's not getting better.
it's not getting better, and you know, people can, unfortunately, we're the elected officials that are here now, and part of our job is for people to get frustrated or upset with us, and I think as a commission, I'm very proud of the way all of you all have reacted to the people, and I think the people are pretty proud of us as well. But I think what's important to note here is that this commission has never been about blame, it's been about action. right? And so even though we are at 103 breaks, we know why. It's not all, part of it is neglect, but a lot of it also is the drought. The drought plays havoc on our land. That's why I'm sure some of your houses have cracks in them. Some of your foundations have moved. I don't know, but I've got sidewalks and I've got my own personal sidewalks and my driveways that are caving in on the edges because of the drought. It has the same effect on lines. So it's real important that people know that we're taking action on that. One of the actions is 10th Street. And you know, I'm sorry that the news media said it was the only project we're on. That's not the case. We've got a lot of projects. It's just 10th Street was the highlight because of the area that it affects. But just to give you an example, in 10th Street, we had a 6-inch water line. It's not enough to cover the people that are there, much less the growth that's going on to the south and to the east. So part of that project was to take our 6-inch line and turn it into a 12-inch line, which means now we can feed the people where they're supposed to be. The problem with that is that if you have old copper lines, if you have old clay lines, if you have old lines at all, that's going to affect them as well. And I want to give another example as we deal with water, in that we had a business. I just happened to be going to that business because we were going to barbecue that day, and I was there to pick up some tortillas and some avocados. And I get there, and the store is underwater, and I mean, and he shut down for that whole day, or I'm sorry, half of that day. And what had happened is the sewer line in that area was so corroded that as we exposed it,
Clay.
it was just sinking into the ground. So it was clay. We had to repair that entire area. And to add that, there was a water line running along it, which it should have never been. And we had to fix that. So those are just some of the things that we as a city commission have to decide. And, you know, I think the reasoning behind this explanation is we don't want the citizens to think that whatever changes we're making here, or whatever the raise in the water rate is, it didn't go without a lot of thinking and a lot of goals that we needed to set. So I welcome any calls. I'd be happy to explain it to anybody who calls me. But just water breaks alone should tell you our situation and how badly our infrastructure needs to be improved. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is the investment in water rights, water well, and the expansion of our water capabilities, our water tower. Here's the thing, guys. If you all are watching the news, every single one of you know that we got water problems. Now, I was the emergency manager 20 years ago, and I was the emergency manager 12 years ago. And in both of those times that I was there, water shortage was part of the problem. And every 5-6 years, the next water problem is bigger. So we of course, we're signing letters and trying to get Mexico to give us our water, and we're also doing all kinds of stuff to try and get that done. But at the end of the day, that's not going to fix our problem. So we, as the city of Mercedes, and again, I'm very proud of our administration and very proud of this commission, because Mercedes is not going to wait and see what happens to see if we get water from another country that's suffering without water as well. It doesn't make any sense. We need to become self-efficient. And the only way we're going to be self-efficient is to dig down the water that's existing and be on the cutting edge of this instead of waiting and see who fixes something for us. So we're taking this initiative. We're going to do this because it's the right thing to do. May not be the popular thing to do, but it's the right thing to do, because at the end of the day, I am positive that what our citizens want is that when they turn on their water faucet, the water comes out. I don't think they care about letters being sent anywhere. I don't think they care about whose fault it is. What they're going to care about is when I turn my water on, is there water coming out? And what we're doing is taking steps to make sure that happens. So again, I'm sorry. I apologize to the commission. I hope that you're okay with, or I appreciate you all indulging me with this opportunity to do some explanation. And the last thing I'll close is with this. This has been a team effort. And I'm talking about the positive. You want to be upset at somebody, you can get upset at me. I'm the mayor. That's my job. But I'm telling you, this is a positive thing. And I applaud this commission for taking this hard step because they're not only affecting you, but they're affecting their families as well. All right, so with that, if there's anybody else want to say anything?
You go ahead and take the floor. I do have a few things, but you were next. Go ahead, sir.
Well, the mayor, and the reason I hope I didn't throw too hot a potato in your lap, Mayor, but you know, you've done I think a great job, you know, considering all of the different, sort of scenarios that we have trying to position the system, the city for the future. And we're certainly worried about the people that we have right now. But the other thing is we need to be able to look way down the road and make decisions now that are going to change, that are going to alter the course of our city and position us so that when people come to Mercedes and want to build homes, that's not going to stop. That's going to continue. We're growing and we're growing and we're growing. And if we're not positioned for that, we're going to have much bigger challenges ahead of us. So I think it's, you know, I like what you said where you say it's a right thing to do. And it's not always the easiest thing to do or the most comfortable thing to do. But I would rather invest a little now than to go back and try to retrofit a city or to turn people away and say, you know, we'd love to have you, but we don't have the water. We don't have the capacity in our water plant. We don't have the capacity in our sewer plant. We don't have the right size lines. We haven't, you know, there's just so much for us to do. And this is just the absolute necessary action I think that we need to take because of what's coming, and it's right in front of our eyes. So the utility fund is the one that's going to have to pay this stuff back. So I think it's only fair that the utility fund bear the burden of those costs so that we don't have to go back to where we were borrowing from the general fund and scratching and try to come up with ways to pay that back. I think it needs to pay its way, and I think it will. And I think the dividends are going to be down the road. We'll see the returns on these investments later. So, you know, as you mentioned, the increased capacity in water, getting more water in Mercedes for the future, expanding the portfolio of where that water comes from so we're not dependent on surface water or groundwater exclusively is a great move. Investing in a future water filtration plant, investing in repairs. I mean, we've got a great wastewater plant in terms of the capacity there. So, but that's going to need a lot of help as well. And all these things are important. So this is just a start, and I appreciate the chance to talk about it. So thank you, Mayor.
Dr. Howe?
Well, Honorable Commission, I appreciate the floor for a few comments and potential concerns. In 2010, I was living in Austin. I was part of the Rent is Too Damn High movement. It was a movement by Jimmy McMillan. He was a presidential candidate, and I saw a lot of his views as well. At the time, affordable housing was up high, rent rates, it was crazy. This was, of course, after the 2008 housing crash. And so I've always been for the people and with the people. So when I did some case studies, looking at some numbers here, possible solutions, and ran into a case study in San Antonio, the San Antonio area, where water rate increases were implemented to address significant infrastructure needs to manage water scarcity due to prolonged drought, which we're facing right now. Yep. The city introduced a tiered pricing system and conservation incentives to mitigate the impact. Despite these measures, residents and businesses faced higher utility bills, which we're kind of looking at that direction. In response, the San Antonio area established 2 key components here to help relieve the citizens. The Customer Assistance Program to support low-income housing, and two, promote water-saving practices to help alleviate some of the financial burden. This is a reference water rate structure and conservative by the San Antonio Water System. So my proposal and solution will be the city of Mercedes to apply a very similar approach to handle water rate increases by implementing targeted assistance program and adjusting the water rate structure to incentivize conservation, and investing in water infrastructure will help manage the financial impact while promoting sustainable water. I think one of those we've talked about and we're doing as far as the wells. And this is, the reference is the Texas Commission of Environmental Qualities, 2020, Small Community Water Systems. This was retrieved for our good friends at TCEQ, which we know all about. These references offer insights into how San Antonio area communities and similar cities addressing water rate challenges provided a framework for smaller cities like our great city of Mercedes to follow. Anytime I do any type of decision making, of course, I respect all of y'all. It's part of when we had to go to do battle and approve those COs. And as a commissioner and a mayor, we have to make some of these tough decisions for the community. But I always do the gamma technique, to gather information, the data, to analyze the information. Then we mandate it, and then we analyze to get feedback. And so all this data here kind of helps, but my question to Bet is, similar to these components here, what can we do to help our residents to avoid some of this impact?
So considering an assistance program, we'll have to do a study, a rate study, a water rate study, to have a tiered approach in order to be able to address that. We've got our support from Mr. Snowden, who does water rates. His study, I mean, and he can speak up, he's online. I mean, it's not gonna take any less than 60 days, or maybe more. I think that's a good idea if we can get there. I think we can, at this time, we're at a situation, if we're going out for COs, decision needs to be made. I think we can still work this in and do the study and come back and say, hey, there's an adjustment, because we apply whatever is possible that's beneficial, and if we can support it. But in order for the Standard & Poor's of the world to continue with the financial advisors' recommendations as far as what we need to do to be able to support borrowing any money today, because they're gonna go to market next week, something needs to be supplied to the Standard & Poor's folks and say, how is the city gonna pay for it? Now, in 60 days, if we kick off this study and it supports it based on what you're recommending, and the funding part of it is sustainable with a tiered approach, and we can pull it off, then you can adjust it. Okay, this is now where you can still come back in 60 days and say we can reevaluate and adjust accordingly.
I mean, I just felt personally all this was kind of brought on fast, and I understand because it's an emergency situation. I wish we would have had some options first to help our residents with the impact. But I always appreciate and respect everybody's vote. While we may not always agree, sometimes we do what's best for the best interests of the community.
So just real quick, I want to make sure we clear something up. And I'm glad you brought up San Antonio. I'm very familiar with the San Antonio project. That's actually how they got their waterway, the San Antonio water walk. And but we're at the water walk stage. The one you're talking about was after they got the water, and it's a great idea. We do have a staged approach, but not as aggressive as the one you're talking about. So this funding, just to be clear to the citizens, is that this funding is to provide water to the city, and not the disbursement of it. So it's more of the infrastructure. At this point, and just to give you guys an idea of what can happen, if TCQ knows that we don't have water capacity, they'll shut down our growth. We cannot approve, even if we wanted to, we cannot approve any more growth. So that's where the emergency falls, and that's why all the cities are kind of in emergency mode, because if they don't show some progress in their water capabilities, they can stop
Issuance of permits.
issuing permits.
And I
So it's
think,
real important
yeah, and I
that we-
think, Mayor, I think that's the, a key factor. I guess much as this is weighing on me,
Yeah.
I know growth is coming. I think, know there's a lot of rumors out
It's
there,
here.
and I know here, as far
It's here right now. Yeah.
as far as, you know, us as a commission, we've had the discussions, we've had these meetings. We're all about the growth and continuing success of the city. And I think that what you said right now is key. If TCEQ does not, I guess, approve or see that we're not stable enough
Yeah,
for these,
That's a
these
good
water,
word. Stable is perfect.
then we're not gonna be able to allow this growth to happen.
Yes, sir.
And
We
just
see
to,
that impact.
And,
of
and see
it,
that right there, I did not take that into account as
No,
well.
we see
Like
that
Commissioner.
impact too, but at the same time, my concern is, are we even considering the impact that it's gonna have on the citizen?
No.
They just got the property tax rate increase, and what I'm seeing here, average bill that's $97 to $115.
Yeah.
Right, with now that additional $850 goes to $105 to $123. We have a lot of elderly in this city. So when you'd mentioned that program, I thought that had merit, because what about the people that can't afford $123 a month? We have people here that are on a fixed income. And I understand, and this is the difficult part, because we have to do this, but at the cost of the taxpayer? I mean, it's tough, man. It's super duper tough, because I'm thinking about how people are barely climbing out of the hole after the pandemic. They're barely getting their feet on the ground.
Some are still in the hole.
I understand. And now we're hitting them with a property tax increase. And on top of that, we're hitting them with the water. It's tough, man. And that's my concern, Mayor, is just the impact that it's going to have on the taxpayer, on the average person that's on a fixed income right now. That's my concern. I think we can all agree on the merit as far as what it's going to do to help. But are we considering the impact that it's going to have on the taxpayer? I don't know that we are. You know?
So there's another, the alternative right now, for example, and which I've complained several times, the way the water's being delivered right now, the pumping costs keep going up every year. The push water keeps going up, and we're not talking about, Meredith can probably touch on that. We'll see a $30,000 to $40,000 extra charge for push water, because we're relying so much on the irrigation district, and the way they deliver is the most inefficient way to deliver water to the city. So a water well would not only reduce the number of water rights that we need, because that water belongs to the city, it's underground, and you're not having to pay for push water or pumping water. So if we don't do anything going forward, whether it's now or a year from now or whenever that is, if we don't do anything in changing or improving the way we secure water, the cost of water is automatically going to go up. No, it's never going to go down, and it's going at a higher rate and faster rate than if we were to go and try and figure out how many more water wells can we have here to reduce the cost of water rights and push water and pumping cost.
I get that, because I just read the article about, I think, they're setting water to Reynosa now,
Mm-hmm.
because Mexico City's about to tap out at the end of the month. No
Right.
more water. So we can see how effect this is having in the area, right? Not just here, but south of here.
Correct.
So I get that. And trust me when I tell you guys, I mean, I'm all for it. The problem that I'm just seeing is it's just one on top of the other, and it's a burden for our people, man. You know, I mean, that's the tough aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think everybody can agree that the money that this is going to be used for, when used properly, is going to benefit the city and the people within itself. The tough part is you have one increase, now you're going to have another increase. I mean, it can be a lot for a lot of people, and that's just my concern, is just, have we looked at all the alternatives? Is there another way without going this route? You know, I mean, that's the hard part on it. You know, I just wanted to say that because I think the merit behind it, we can all agree is necessary. But I'm thinking of the average person that's on a fixed income. I mean, he just got the increase, and now we're going to increase the water. It's a lot. It's a lot. But that's just how I feel about this. So,
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
aye.
Aye.
The motion passes 3-2. Moving on to executive session. Let's see, thing here. Oh, I think I left it over here. All right, moving on to item 6, executive session, discussion of discussion city manager regarding personnel matters, consultation with attorney regarding update and litigation. Item C, consultation with attorney regarding contract.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
I have a motion by Commissioner Howell. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll be in executive session. It's now 6:31 PM. All right, it is 7:34 PM. I call this meeting back into open session. I believe there was no action on any of the items, Commissioners? Any actions? Nope.
No action.
All right, can I entertain a motion for adjournment, number 8?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I have a motion by Commissioner Howell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Martinez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 7:34 PM. We are adjourned.